is this place? Where is everyone? Yikes! Huh? Ugh. Oh, the feather.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to LFG, where we find a party to share what they've learned from game making. I'm your host, Tina, and today with me I have some of the devs behind the absolutely adorable title, Whalien. So before we get into the actual game today, first let's start off by introducing our guests. So first, Rolf, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I can try. Hey, first of all, thanks for having us, and it's an honor, and we're very happy to be here and to be able to show off the game. I'm Ralf, yeah, and I'm a programmer at Forbidden Folds. Small studio from Austria. We're probably going to more detail on that later. I am one of two programmers, and very happy to be here, I guess.
Happy to have
Just
you
ask
here. So
anything.
thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
Just ask anything more if you want to.
All right, there we go. You have permission now, chat, so please go crazy. You've heard it here. Then next up we have Jacob. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Sure. Also, thanks for having us. I'm Jacob. I'm one of the artists of our studio, and I'm excited to show off and talk about the game.
Awesome.
Love
You were both so
all the
humble.
colors and all the. Woohoo.
Yes, yeah. It's absolutely adorable. The art style is amazing. The colors are vibrant, which I'm sure nobody can tell that I'm a fan of personally. But yeah, I'm very excited to get into it. There's so many puns, so very many puns in this game. So if I don't see at least a couple other puns in chat, I'm gonna be sad. So this is our opportunity to unapologetically unleash the puns and dad jokes. And I feel like we need a day like this every once in a while. So let's all collectively get in the mindset for it and have a good time. But
That's
so
what
for
we
anyone who's watching who might not be familiar with the game itself, do you mind kind of giving an overview of what it is for everyone watching?
Sure, yeah. Whalien is a third-person puzzle adventure where you take the role of Ernest Hemingwhale, and you live in a flying mechanical whale that's colorful and a patchwork whale that has been plagued by a infestation of squiddies. That's what we call it. That's little slimy creatures. And so basically the whale that you live in is also conscient. Conscient. And so he calls you and asks you to help clean up this mess. And so you have, which we're probably going to see later, two forces, gloves that can help you push and pull everything in your vicinity, and later on pearls that can do that same stuff in a distance. And so it's a physics-based puzzle game with a lot of chaos, and where you can influence everything in your surroundings and throw it around and pull it towards you and stuff like that.
Awesome. Best kind of game are the chaotic ones. So awesome. Well, I'm ready to dive in if y'all are. What do you think?
Sure, yeah.
Awesome. There we go. Got the game pulled up here.
Okay. Very good. We can go over a short intro, or the intro of the game if you want, and do a bit more, like tell a bit more about the world. That's
Yeah,
fine with everyone?
absolutely.
Okay.
From the beginning.
May take a while. All right. So I think I'd best just talk over the text in the bottom and just say it in my own words. But the whole story takes place on a planet that is covered in floating islands, and basically the humans there had too little space, and so the home and the of our main character and the location of the game. And all of the humans moved in there, and they had a jolly good time. All different types of people, old and young, and maybe skeletons.
Maybe dead. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, they got to go somewhere. And yeah, that's Finn. Finn is actually he is like generations old, but in his mind and in terms of the age of a mechanical whale, he's actually still pretty young. So he's got that twirly hat and the young boys. And yeah, just like I said, everything was going really, really well until it wasn't, because that slime emerged and Squiddies, slimy creatures, arrived from somewhere, and they made him unwell. He suddenly felt that he was not able to like breathe as freely. His blowhole seemed congested, and actually all of the humans said, we don't want to live in that place anymore, and they built another rail. All humans? No, not all humans, because the brave Ernest Hemingwhale that we're going to play remained in the whale, and that's where we jump in. Finn calls Ernest and asks him for his help.
This is our hero. And this is one of those squiddies Ralph mentioned beforehand. So these little squiddies are the main problem that Finn is dealing with right now. And you are now tasked with trying to get rid of them.
Oh my gosh. I love how cartoonish even like the animations and the whole intro sequence felt as well.
Yeah, so one of our big focuses was trying to get everything cartoony and bright and super colorful and very welcoming looking and stuff. And we tried very, very hard to get all the a lot of little details with animation and stuff in it to really get the character of Ernest across and stuff. And the same basically is true for all of the environment and stuff you were exploring. So we put a lot of effort in trying to reward you looking around for stuff and really looking at all the little things and mostly finding puns.
We definitely took a lot of inspiration from maybe Nintendo games and just to have a lot of attention to detail, and everywhere you go you should find some little detail, maybe a collectible, but also maybe seeing that, oh, that's Ernest's overalls in here and they swing around. And overall, basically, we just wanted to make a fun experience where you can make a lot of chaos. Just
Absolutely.
So
play around with the physics.
Ralph just collected the first power of the game, so your main one of your main mechanics. So the whole game is basically built around the idea of pushing and pulling. So everything in the game is built around that core idea. And so we wanted to have a really simple to understand base mechanic, and with that we tried to build upon that, and so that's all. Basically, you interact with the whole world just by pushing and pulling. And so now you collected the push glove, and you can see what kind of you can push stuff around with it, just in the direction you're aiming, and you can see that you're
make a big mess.
It gets quite chaotic really fast.
Yeah. And right here we find the second glove, and can begin to go on an adventure if we want. And this is the pull glove, which enables us to pull stuff. And so in combination with these two powers, we can do basically everything, almost everything that we need to do in the game.
So With this being like the fundamentals of the game, right, is this push and pull
Yeah.
mechanic,
Yeah.
and really looks like being able to interact with just about everything in the environment there. Did you have any issues with getting that to work seamlessly, where maybe you're not shooting
Yes.
things straight through walls into the distance, or rubber banding all around? How did you kind of go about that?
Yeah, sure. Do you have anything?
I guess there are multiple problems that arise from in basically being able to interact with everything. The first thing that came to mind, we like in prototyping, we first decided that we are just going to have a few objects that you can interact with and stuff. But we felt that like your powers really encouraged you to want to interact with all the physics objects. So we sort of focused more on that. And being a puzzle game with like just interacting with the environment and solving environment-based puzzles, one of the big challenges we had is even just designing all the environment puzzles around being able to take every object with you all the time and like climbing over obstacles and stuff. So this I guess was the biggest as an overall challenge, and then there was
and making it
a
so
lot
that
of minor.
it still feels like somewhat natural, I guess, and not have maybe a test chamber or two like on the nose design, although it is pretty on the nose at times, but yeah, on the technical side there is definitely also some problems we had, but we tried to use the basic Unreal Engine physics for the most part, and it worked pretty well. So in the background, all of these objects have a Whalien component. We name the stuff that everything is made out of Whalien, and so basically everything that has that component attached is interactable by the player, and uses mostly like the built-in engine physics system, and it works pretty well. We had to fake it in some spots, which we may or may not get to later.
May or may not disclose.
Yeah.
Ralph, would you like to try to move just a bit on?
Yeah, sure.
Like just
I can. Go ahead. Tell me what to do, and
no. Just to again to sort of like your goals and stuff. So back to the environment puzzle idea or something.
Yeah. Sorry.
So no worries. So with interacting with everything kind of. So we wanted to have you think about so your powers are very easy to understand and stuff. So then the puzzle comes from finding out where you have to go, and then also executing your like when you see for instance right now you're leaving your house through the garage and stuff, and so right now you can probably guess what you have to do to leave, and then you also have to actually like take the doorknob and push it pull it back and stuff. So that's the core idea. Like you always have to look around in your environment and find out what you want to do, and then look at how you can accomplish that.
Yeah. And another thing that may be interesting in the game, that we in the sense of rewarding the player for just looking around and going where like you don't need to, or maybe it shouldn't even go. We have these collectibles, these stickers, and if you collect them, the first time Finn tells you what they are, and that the Squiddy has actually spread them all over the world. And if we open the book, we can actually see that sticker and get a little bit of background information about the world. So exactly, so for example, we see in this image that Finn was part of the Ernest was part of the Finn service team, and basically those are the mechanics that kept everything in order around the whale. And so,
and that's also one thing that kind of came from like you being able to interact with everything, and because you can what's happening? You can put stuff on top of each other, so you can reach a lot of places. So we really wanted you to be able to look around in the environment and find stuff so that there's other stuff to do than just walk straight through.
Yeah, definitely. Give some sense of verticality to the different rooms.
Yes.
Yeah, and we're pretty happy with how that worked out. So right here we see the bunny Squiddy again, and we used it as a sort of guide for the player. Wherever this Squiddy appears, the player knows that they will need to go, because it's the main objective of the game, basically catching it. And so when we go there and try to catch it, unfortunately it jumps away and we know where to go next. And if we try to follow it, we may or may not be stopped by another Squiddy, different type of Squiddy.
Gasp.
And so right now it turns out that Ernest was thinking that this non-effort of dealing with the Squiddy infestation basically was enough, and slowly it turns out that maybe that was not the case.
No, maybe there's more going on in the background than, or in the inner workings of Finn that it first led on. But mechanically, this portion tells you for the first time that you can also combine your forces. And so if you first press the left trigger to pull, and then the right trigger to push, you can throw stuff away. Basic stuff.
Interesting.
And so we can push, throw it at the Squiddy's eye, and then it's defeated and we get the battery.
I love the little spin and the jump there.
Yeah.
Gotta do 360s.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
So, and this again is all revolving around this one simple idea of just pushing and pulling, and we figured it is really important for us to introduce all the ways you can interact with these things pretty clearly. So we have a lot of situations where you had to throw the something at the Squiddy and stuff. So we took it took us a lot of effort to communicate the powers in a way that was really easily understandable and stuff.
Exactly. We did some internal playtests and then also a public playtest with like random users, players, and tried to incorporate the feedback as good as possible. Which isn't like actually that easy sometimes, because there's a lot of different opinions and you need to like crystallize out what's the right quote unquote opinion. But when you go with the majority opinion, it's usually the right way, because the majority is going to play the game.
Right.
We have another sticker. That was a like advertisement for the whale once it when it was built, that people should go there and enjoy life in paradise. So yeah, all of those illustrations are the work of our second artist, Martin, and he did a really great job with everything, making it as cute as can be. Making all of those illustrations, making the characters. That was mainly his doing, I suppose. Oh, and there's another.
Oh no.
So yeah, the whale is actually a bit more like infested than we initially thought, and there's even big tentacles. And if we try to apply what we learned first, throwing things at eyes, we may or may not be able to. Yeah, there we go. Throw stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the slime specifically right now, especially since I noticed that when the bunny Squiddy went jumping off, it left behind slime in its wake. What all is that? Is that just a combination of semi-transparent meshes, or what was the process of building all that?
So for the slime specifically, we have a bunch of stuff that's working in combination. You can see it pretty clearly here. So we tried also a lot of different things. In the end, we settled with like blobs that are deformed all through the shader and stuff, and you can they are additive, so you can look through them and stuff. And most of the time, we have combined them with animated decals that make it really shiny and slimy on just to blend the surfaces together with all the other environment, I guess. And we also tried to make it at least a little bit interactable, so the slime deforms a bit deforms based on the distance field from like it's multiplied in the shader, so it deforms sort of when you walk through it, or when you push it into the environment and stuff. So it really feels like it's wrapping around the area.
That's awesome.
We also tried like we had a lot of fun with all the slime, like making a very clean environment look not so clean anymore. And what was also a big challenge was the performance aspect, because we tried a lot of different stuff, like is it possible to get some sort of transparent look going and stuff, because that's really expensive for rendering and stuff. So
yeah,
in the end, I think we settled on something that we found was working quite well for us. So I think most of the slime is unlit now, so but it still blends really well into the environment. And that.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering.
I'm not sure if that answered the question.
Yeah, it definitely did. It's really interesting, kind of getting to know some of the process behind, how it looks so drastically different on whether you're in it or viewing it from the outside, plus it actually interacting with the character. There's a lot of things that went into what I feel like a lot of people can assume is kind of a small detail, but especially with it being a recurring theme, I'm assuming, throughout, it's really cool that it got a little bit of extra love put into it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was the aim.
As you mentioned, it's also a recurring thing, so we had to make sure it works together with all the environments we wanted to have. So it had to work in different situations and stuff. So it evolved a lot over the course of the game.
Yeah. We jump there. Unfortunately, we have to take another detour.
Oh, no.
Because everything is broken, and the whale was built over generations, and basically every generation did their own thing and built their own like part of the whale on top of it, and so it looks a bit wonky, and yeah, stuff is just connected in strange ways to one another.
It really is some sort of a patchwork whale in terms, because every generation just built their own thing and stitched it together however they saw fit.
Yeah. So right here we have. Oh, go ahead, please.
No. I was going to mention the same thing. So here is one of the springies. Like Ralph mentioned in the beginning that all the humans that inhabited the whale, they left before the start of the game. So, but what they left behind were like basically the springies. These are little robots that usually helped out people with all their tasks and stuff. But since all the humans left, they sort of started taking control of the whale for themselves, and just
they made it
now
their own
the
little
main inhabitants.
paradise.
Yes.
Exactly. And when we jump down here, you can see they built little communities. They built this nice place, or inhabited it, and took it over. And when we walk near those people, and we can see that they all have something to say. For example, this lady is very happy about the fishing in this place. Oh, not finish up. And apparently it's...
So all of them are giving you little tidbits of information either about the world or about themselves. So we made sure that each of those springies has their own, like, is their own little character and has their own little personality and quirks. Like, also Martin did a lot of great writing on these. So
exactly. For example, this person also tells us that the humans used to live here, or used to live up in this place, and now they've left. So there was more space for the spring people and for them to use the fish. And they've been comfortable here. Exactly.
Also, tiny tidbit of information. Like again, like going back to the core idea of the game is like you push and pull everything. So we also made sure that when you interact with the spring people, like you bring them to talking by pushing or pulling them. So then they start talking to you. So we really wanted to make sure that everything you do in the game is sort of based around this push and pull mechanic. Yeah. Even the story bits and stuff.
Exactly. Can you get knocked around by anything that's falling or being pushed and pulled as well?
Not intentionally, but yes. That's like the caveat of you making a physics-based game. Now, usually the things that bounce into you cannot move you, but you can push them around. But there's exploits or just weird moments where it might bounce into you and shoot you off in the distance. But I hope it adds to the charm.
Feature, not a bug.
Of course, it's a feature.
Yeah, after
it's a feature that the speedrunning community actually liked a lot.
Exactly.
Sorry.
After release, a few speedrunners really tried various things with the game, and it was very fascinating to see what kind of techniques they came up with. And definitely one of the highlights of the receptions, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. What got me thinking about that was the fishes on the kind of pendulum thing that you were just messing with. And I was wondering if you stood a little closer, if it would accidentally hit you off into the distance, but...
No.
Very
we went
cool.
sure that doesn't happen, but might happen in different instances.
Right.
So yeah, if we want to go into the different types of spring people a bit more, there's also these spring people with the sticker on their head, and they can give you a quest: catch the golden fish and win a prize. And if we manage to find the golden fish in the level and throw it in here, then we will get another sticker. So that's maybe something that we can do over the course of this level. And then the other type is ones that actually give you hints about the level. For example, little Alice here asks you to catch this pink bunny, and so that's basically a guide again. Please go over there, and that's where you should be going.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Was that always
is-
intended
yeah, please.
as kind of having like a guide through the directions of where you needed to go, or was that based off of it felt difficult sometimes for the players to understand where their next objective was?
I guess there were multiple reasons or so. So we definitely intended to have like sort of various types of guides, especially the Squiddy. Was like decided that it leads you sort of through the story and stuff. But we also, because it's a environment-based puzzle game where your goal is to see where you have to, also like try to find out how you get to the next point. So it was very important for us to sort of make it very clear where you have to go at the next stage and stuff. So that was always a focus, and we used different. We tried to not rely on one thing in particular at all times, so that there's most of the time that there's multiple things leading you where you have to go and stuff.
Yeah. If the person doesn't talk, the player doesn't talk to Alice, then they might still notice these arrows down here, or they might still notice the Squiddy here, or just play around and find the solution. That's always an option. But basically, the way we intended the players to play the game is to find that out, and then observe the level, see what is like stopping me from going over there. Right now it's that scale that is lifted to the wrong side. And then think, well, what do I do with this scale? Maybe I can push off those, or pull off, either way, those fish. And it tilts over and we can pass through. There we go. And Squiddy tells us where to go next, basically, because it's restless, doesn't want to be caught by us. And right here we have another spring people that helps us, because it tells us that we need a battery to start this machinery that we need to launch in order to get to the upper level. And it seems like it was stolen by those peasants from the fishing village. And we've actually seen the battery before. And so we can just take it out here, take into account, well, just accept that the light is out here now, and he's maybe a bit sad. So dark here now, but
Oh my god. This terrible darkness.
But sometimes we need to make some take some actions to advance. And Finn is pumped again, because there's now fish pumping through the machinery again. Because lore-wise, this was a large pond that fish were caught from, and well then funneled through for further words processing. Thank you.
Words are hard.
Yeah,
I get it.
yeah. All right, and now
I guess was also. Oh, sorry. Just, I wanted to mention what's also. You asked before, like in terms of like what was important for us in the level and the truth. Sorry. Again, just for the and maybe it's a bit seeable in how Ralph plays the game. For us, we obviously have to come up with like a puzzle for the environment and stuff. And so for us, it gets as a developer, you very you very soon you know what you have to do and stuff. And so it's really important to playtest the puzzle then, and then to get a really like that you have to get the right feedback. As is the puzzle too hard, or is it just not explained in a way that's understandable? And that's one of the biggest challenges we had in designing these puzzles.
Exactly.
Really figuring out
is it
understandable what we want them to do.
Right.
And since there's like, especially in the later levels, physics-based solutions where you need to place one thing on top of another or something, there's also multiple solutions to every puzzle, and we needed to see that like everything works and it's not too easily exploitable, and people, like the general player, will find the intended solution, but you can solve it in any way you like. And you can again walk around and explore and find another sticker.
Right.
For example, sticker of Captain Igor.
Great sticker. Good old Captain Igor. I do have a question from chat here real quick, if that's all right.
Yeah, please.
Always.
Turning Kong is wondering, was it difficult to settle on a color palette that ties everything together?
So one of our goals we had was making everything look shiny and clean and sort of toy-like, also for like, because you have to interact with everything. So we wanted to encourage like interacting with all the stuff. So that's why it's kind of a bit like inspired by toys and plasticky looks, and everything is shiny and all that kind of stuff. What that led to was like also all the bright colors, and especially the orange. And so it was a lot of the time we had problems like getting an understandable look, because every color is so saturated and stuff, and that was the focus of us. So we often had a point where we sort of lost a bit of just the levels weren't really readable and all that kind of stuff. So that was really hard. And also we wanted to have a very bright color palette, but also sort of a very limited per level color palette. So we didn't just want to use every color we had available and stuff. So we really wanted to focus in on the for instance here, the orange bright look as the main color. So it was quite a challenge to figure out exactly how we can make this look good and also effective, sort of, in how you can see where you have to go, and just figuring out the whole palette and also the material properties. Like we have a lot of small variants in how shiny all the objects are, just so that not everything is full shiny, so the effect gets lost and stuff.
Right.
But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, the basic idea was to make the thing like seem as happy and colorful as possible, and so we definitely went with like bright and like strong colors that are noticeable, that you can that
Yes. One of the bigger
Sorry.
problems with the color palette was also the just lighting the whole areas all the time, because with all the colored walls and stuff, the light color and how everything is reflected and stuff. So it's all very tinted orange from the get-go, basically, and it's different than usually in environments. It's often like you have like if you imagine like just a regular room, often there's just white walls and stuff. So a lot of the usual things you're used to when you're lighting a scene or something are not always working as you expect them to.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point.
You really have to take into account all the colors, like the floor and the walls and the ceiling are often orangey, and
Right.
that
And
makes it
then
tricky.
orange light on top of that. Yeah.
Any other questions?
I feel like
or-
kind of. I have a follow-up question that actually in regards to the lighting. With everything being so colorful, did you ever have issues kind of finding the right lighting colors that don't either desaturate or make the really bright, fun visuals that you were going for feel either murky or just not coming across as intended?
Yes, definitely. So again, coming back to the wall example, I guess, like a lot of our lights are very white, and usually when you're doing lighting, you try to add a hint of a color or something, and so for us that didn't work really well, because whenever we tried to make a light a bit more orangey than or yellow, like in daylight or in something, this always really threw off our color palette. And whenever we wanted to have a bit of more of a cool light, also just worked in the environments that were less heavy on the orange, because it always make them look a bit green because of the color contrasts and stuff. So how they mix, and that was really like a different way of getting into the different levels, I guess. So
Right.
So we were kind of surprised that we had to use really white lights a lot of the time.
It feels wrong, right? I feel like everything in development is like, absolutely not, never use white lighting under any circumstances unless it's like
Kind of.
clinical or something. Yeah.
And because I guess all the colors were already in the environment, I guess that it sort of makes sense that you don't need extra color in the lights and stuff. But
Right.
it was really tricky just getting to that point.
Very interesting.
it's
Well, thank you for those answers.
definitely a learning experience, and well, this is the first game we've ever developed, like big game, as a team and in general, and so we definitely learned a lot in the course of developing the game, and there was a lot of iteration on how to do stuff, for example the lighting stuff, or what we just
Right.
touched on. But we're now in the elevator that the story would have told us to go to, and we can try and head up to well, the blowhole would be the idea.
So I guess just a tiny bit of recap, because probably was not that good understandable, because we were always talking and stuff. So you found out that the blowhole is kind of clogged with all the slime and Squiddy and stuff, and then you sort of had to go on your detour through the fish farm, and then you were told that somewhere there's probably an elevator taking you to your destination.
Yeah, to the blowhole.
And that's... But the Springies had sort of different plans for you, so they brought you into a suspiciously looking one of the more clinical areas, one of the science labs.
Wow, Berna. See.
So this room looks a bit different because the spring people actually like take care of it, and they took over the research that the humans did and just continue working there. And they found and rediscovered this pearl, who we call Mr. Push, and you can also see back here.
When?
And it's basically mechanics-wise an extension of your powers. So with the right trigger, I can push everything that is close to me, but with the right bumper. No, and with the right bumper, I can push away everything that is far away from me. And so this is a more, this is a more streamlined level that is only designed to teach you that, because we had the experience in our testing that people had some difficulty until they, for the very first time, understood what they had to do. But once it clicked that you have to press and then press once more until you to manifest the pearl and make it repel everything around it. Once you understood that one time, then you were good to go. And so we made sure if you can do that 4 times, you can advance and you can play through like the next portions of the game. What we also found made it a lot easier is if you push the button for a long time, you get the arc of the pearl and can follow better where it is. Because we found during development, placement of stuff in 3D is not easy. We tried a lot of different scenarios. How can we have the player help the player place the pearl accurately, and we tried giving it a straight line to fly, or making it super fast or super slow. But we thought that having it fly in an arc, and maybe if the player wants, describing that arc was the best way, and found in playtests that it was the most easy understandable. Yeah.
Very cool.
And also maybe one thing that's interesting, like one of the end results we came to was throwing the ball like as you would throw a ball in real life was kind of the most natural thing we could come up with. And for a long time we also had what's the name in English? A crosshair for like just describing where you're aiming. And we realized that this was way more distracting than actually useful, because it just gave you a rough idea of where you wanted to aim.
Yeah.
And you're basically intuitively aiming into that direction anyway. So it was sort of smarter to just or more useful for us to not show it and then make a dedicated aiming help if you wanted a really precise control. And we felt that this both felt the best and also was the most
makes it cleaner and really isn't necessary. Wasn't necessary.
Yeah. I'm noticing that there's a lot of detail work put into these environments as well, like these double-sided whiteboards having drawings on both sides, for example.
Yeah, it goes into that attention to detail again. We wanted every location to feel special and give it a really handcrafted feel that people lived or used to live here and represented in all aspects of the world. And yeah, for example, here the spring people discovered that Mr. Push, the pearl, can push away everything, but the springies remain on their base and are just pushed away.
Oh, it even works for the NPCs. Oh my gosh.
What's the next sticker? Oh yeah, that's the in-lore explanation. The natural scientist Sylvia Pearl is the one who discovered the pearls and then researched them. And I didn't know that, but Sylvia Pearl was actually a real scientist is a person that exists. Maybe with a different writing,
Again,
different spelling.
Goes back to the pun-based names.
Yeah.
Basically, all of our characters have.
Pun-based game design.
Back in the tunnels, I see.
Back in the tunnels to connect us to the next section. Now we're in a living quarter, and actually if we look down here, don't go too far for the sake of not spoiling anything. This is actually the upper area of where we've been like before. This is the machine that we first turned on, and so this is kind of a connection between those two levels. And actually that's one thing that the speedrunners did. They just skipped out this entire part and glitched up on top of this bridge where we're supposed to go later. Right now. So that was really fun to see how people can like play the game.
Yeah.
Especially interesting was because obviously we tried to mitigate, I think is the right word, a lot of these exploits, and we had a lot of stuff in mind what could go wrong and like how you could progress through the levels. And then seeing how I guess real experts at the game played it and found new ways was really interesting.
You didn't even think of.
No.
Love that.
It's super cool.
Especially because a lot of the tricks they use are so tricky that like I or a lot of our other developers can't like play like that.
No.
Right.
Really next level stuff. So if you have the time, do check out a speedrun, and it's super interesting what they get up to. But here, right now in the game, we saw basically another like thing going bad, and it's really not Ernest's fault, but Finn is getting a bit unhappy with like everywhere that Ernest walks, like bad stuff happens. But we can't do anything against that right now. We need to advance. We need to push on. And this level is this puzzle is basically a extension of the scale we had before, but this time we cannot push or pull the fishies off, and so we need to use a newly gained power and push it off that way. And then this container drops down, and new fishies come up, and we can go on. And there's a friend again. He's jumping off, so we need to follow him. And there's yeah.
And again, just everywhere Ernest goes, chaos ensures.
Yeah. This part goes again along the way of you have simple mechanics, but you need to use them in different ways. And first of all, or before, we had to interact with the environment and push something off. And now we need to use it basically as a bridge for ourselves and push ourselves away with it. And there's actually those chains up there that swing it around. And we can advance. Right here we can see the fish that has been collected in the earlier level is now getting processed. So it's stomped into this machine, and the spherical fishies become box fishies. And unfortunately, this spring people also got into this crusher, and so their head got squished as well. And
Oh no!
they are asking for another head, one of those round fishies. Yeah. Also on a
I love how
technical side.
realistically. I love how realistically a lot of the themes here are actually very dark.
Yeah, it's a bit of a juxtaposition between the visuals and the. It's basically like children's cartoons, like SpongeBob or something like that. If you just look at it, it's charming and nice. But if you listen to it or expand, look into the whole like backstory and stuff, and look at everything, then well, there's some darker backstory to it. So everyone can enjoy it.
It's
Yeah.
not really a darker like backstory per se, but it's more like if you think too long about it, things
Yeah.
are
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
getting weirder.
Yeah. And you can
So
help it.
we did make sure to make a very family friendly game in the veins of like SpongeBob or something. In terms of like it's not really everything you mentioned is not really dark or anything. It's just when you think about it in
Right.
think about it that way, then it becomes dark.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. I do have another question from chat here for y'all.
Please.
Park is wondering if you used blueprints for this game, or if you used a combination of blueprints and coding, or kind of what the majority of this was made with.
Yeah. So the basic consensus that we had on the programming side is we wanted to keep the like heavier stuff, the backbone in C++, because we found it to be easier to maintain and also like a bit more like better for performance purposes, and only the like visual and like special effects then will be add in Blueprint. And we did that for like most of the stuff. For example, the character base is all in C++ and the abilities and everything like that. And then like less important stuff like maybe making that, or maybe that not, making stuff bounce around, wobble around, is then done in Blueprint. And what was also nice, a nice workflow is because it's just generally speaking very quick to iterate on stuff that you build in Blueprint, because you can just hit the compile button and see if it works or it doesn't work. So we did a lot of prototyping and testing in Blueprint, and if we see it works, for example, this conveyor belt here pushing along the fishies, when we saw that this works, we actually translated it to C++ to keep it more like maintainable, make it more understandable for ourselves when we want to look at it in like 2 weeks, because who knows what myself 2 weeks ago thought when they implemented that,
Sure.
that code.
Yeah, I understand that.
One-
That's me with comments
One-
on
one-
blueprints. I have
Yeah.
to do that, or I'm gonna get lost.
One thing we did use blueprints a lot for is if, like, for us artists, when we had to, like, for all the events and stuff that happen in the game, like when we had to make it easy for us to switch meshes and whatever, and like add effects and stuff. So
Yeah.
these parts are. This was really helpful for our mini art department, so that we could also do stuff on our own, because it was relatively
Exactly.
easy to. So Ralph or someone could explain to us, hey, here you can switch the meshes and whatnot and the effects and stuff like that. So it was really helpful for just working together. So for all the parts that were really worked on together, blueprints helped a lot.
Yeah. Awesome. Very interesting. Thank you for that answer.
Thanks for the question.
Yeah. So right now we saw that this bridge was broken down, but I just pushed off all those fishies, and I can step on them and go on and find out what's hiding behind the next door. And it's a tentacle again. Of course it is. And when we walk in, well, we can't go through because it sucks it up. That's another thing. We didn't want to make it too brutal, to have like allow children to also play it and not make it any gore or anything like that. And so the character just respawns and maybe has a funny line that he says the first time, but keep it
At
child
most, it's some
friendly.
sort of cartoon violence or something. So nothing weird or brutal happening.
Right. Yeah, I do feel like it would be a little jarring in this setting to suddenly go into like a first-person shooter and
Just shoot down this tentacle. It sounds
yeah,
like a plan.
yeah. Why are we chasing it? You know, just pull
To
out
defeat it.
a taser or something, and there you go. Game's over.
Exactly.
No.
Thanks.
But yeah.
No.
but right now we need to find a way to get past it. Since we cannot go through, maybe we need to feed it something that, like this pacifier.
Very clever.
That it's like stuck for a while. We can walk through. We also have skateboards. Skateboards are awesome.
Every good game needs a skateboard. Or every game, really.
Regardless.
And again, with just the pacifier you put into the tentacle. So again, all our puzzles sort of evolved from we sort of had a very rough idea what sort of mechanics we wanted to use for the puzzle itself, like how you should engage with it, and then it sort of we had to find places in the story structure and how to make them fit into the world and the story, and how you progress through the thing. And so basically this was also interesting in testing. When you have a very basic setup for a puzzle, it's often easier and clearer to see what you have to do than when it's then fully integrated into an environment, and when everything is like when it then has an in-world explanation of like why you're stuck. It's becoming sort of a whole different problem. So that was really interesting to find out.
Try and solve, yeah. Also, what's nice, I think, yeah, that's the Squiddy again, jumping around. So we can advance, and
I love the capitalization from this NPC.
maybe there's something wrong here. Who knows?
Just maybe.
Oh no!
Oh no! The tentacle again.
So
But he's fine.
Unfortunately,
Oh yeah.
he's fine. Everything's fine.
Just gonna stay here, and we're going to break through the wall and see. Oh, in the back chambers, there's actually a lot of infestation going on.
we also made sure to, whenever there's some sort of event happening in the world, that Finn and Ernest sort of have a little chat about what's happening. So Finn is constantly sort of he sort of knows what's happening inside of the way, but not completely. And so that's a good setup for most of the conversations the two are having. So
Yeah.
really, the personalities of them can shine through.
Yeah, really makes it feel like the character, and thus you, as playing the character, feels very involved in the world and the events that are happening around you.
Yes.
Yeah.
At least it was our goal with it.
That was our intention. Yeah. Happy to see, to hear that it seems to work.
Absolutely.
So here we have another mechanic. This is a button, and if it stays pressed, it turns on this fan. And again, as with everything, we need to use our forces to solve this problem, or to keep it activated, because basically we don't have anything else. There's no dedicated interact button or anything. We decided actively against that, and so we need to hold it open with our Mr. Push, with our Pearl. And then we can also fight on through this mess.
Sometimes it's a bit chaotic when you're pushing right through all the squiddies.
That's how it's supposed to be. And again, defeat the tentacles that are right here. Advance into a room that we may or may not find familiar because it's another science lab, but this time it's bluish instead of pinkish.
Wow, brutal.
Tasties.
No spring, uninteresting. Okay.
Yes.
They're a bit on the mean side. It's a pun or joke or whatever on the on the guy who's in the Mr. Push laboratory, because he says the same things, but it's super interesting to him and it's uninteresting to her.
Right.
So that's the background story behind that. Right now, we found Mrs. Poole, and it is basically the same setup and the same controls as with Mr. Push before. So it's an extension of your pull glove, which you can use to pull and move, attract stuff in your surroundings. And the Mrs. Pull you can use to pull stuff from a distance. And we found if people understood what to do with Mr. Push, with the repulsion pearl, then they usually also knew straight away what to do with this, because it's the same mechanic but inverted.
Right.
We can advance through here. See another one of those drawings. Pick up another sticker. Check it out. So the pearls actually use those abilities in their natural habitat to fend off enemies or attract food, capture food. And now we are here to use it to our benefit.
Very cool.
And also this Spring People is super happy. I like him.
I have a couple more questions from chat to throw your way if you're up for it.
Sure.
The first is, what was the most difficult part of making the game?
Most difficult part?
The most difficult question.
That's super difficult. One thing that was definitely difficult is the whole forming process of the game, because we decided on creating the game when we were still studying at university, and so it was our master's degree project, and basically the project grew and grew over and over again. At that stage we decided that we wanted to make a full-fledged game out of it, and just iterated on it and made it better and better. And so we never had a real plan on how big and what exactly the game should be from the very beginning, and made it up as we went, so to speak. And so coming to the final product and making the game that everyone had maybe in their head, but maybe with slight differences, and coming to a common denominator was definitely well, a challenge. That we
I
had
would
to.
agree mostly. I think so. Again, coming back to like it started out as a student project at the University of Applied Sciences in Salzburg, and there we like we had a room where we all like worked together on our project, and then we found out that like we really liked how we worked together. So like we didn't start out with the intention of making this a commercial game from the get-go. So as Ralph mentioned, sort of at the end we sort of realized that we wanted to do that, and so at that point sort of all the plans changed, and then we really sat down and focused again, and at that point also the game changed quite a bit still because like there were just different. I guess the focus had to shift quite a bit,
Right.
and we definitely had a lot of learnings over the course of development then, because for all of us it was then the first bigger complete game we completed. So basically every step was an opportunity for something new to learn.
Yeah. That's very cool.
And
I feel
then
like this
also
is a really well
obviously-
done. Sorry, go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
No, I just want to mention then also probably obviously the like first we had this whole room where we all work together, and then we just split up and completely worked
COVID
everything
happened.
remotely on the project, and this was also then obviously a challenge that really affected the development.
Yeah, very understandable. Kind of as a follow-up to that then, considering the challenges of taking this from just a student project to a fully realized game, how much time did it take, would you say, to fully complete it?
Jakob, any estimate? Should we try and calculate it?
I guess like it sort of depends on how much of the student time you count, because the project sort of switched a bit and stuff, but sort of between that time and then 2 or 3 more years after that, I guess.
Yeah. So basically we founded our company like almost 2 years ago now, and that's around the time where we started the full production, like full-time working on it, because before that it was like doing it side by side with the university, and so we couldn't focus fully on it. And then like around that time we began to fully focus on it and get stuff done, basically.
Yeah. Awesome.
Right.
I hope that answered questions somewhat.
Definitely. Yeah.
Right here we see a little bit more chaos ensuing. Finn is getting a bit upset, and this is actually the first puzzle where you need to incorporate both of your pearls at the same time. And it's again what Jacob said earlier. Right now I am the developer, and so I know what to do. But when we gave the game out to playtesting, people had to do a lot of thinking and messing around with the pearls and seeing where do I best place them and what do I need to do. But if I know what I'm doing and can maybe properly execute it, I know that I can make my my bridge with that and then can advance. But it's really like find out what to do once, and then you can like it's a puzzle game in that sense. So finding
Definitely.
the solution and trying around and seeing maybe it's better if I place the pearl the other way, or maybe it's better if I don't know, grab a barrel from up there and try to jump on top of it or something like that. Basically, finding that out is part of the way. Then
I
we
will
can
say that I'm
advance and-
glad you are the one
Mhm.
playing, so I don't take embarrassingly long to figure out how to cross the bridge. But
Yeah, no, but that's how it's supposed to be. Everyone should play at their own speed, and it's really no big deal if you
We
find take long and
we
find
also sort of
different solutions.
make sure that none of the puzzles are super reflex dependent or something. So it's really
Yeah.
really a chill game in the overall experience. So
Yeah.
fitting to the art style and stuff. So we didn't want you having any stress or anything like that.
definitely.
Is there any other more general stuff we should talk about of the development or something?
I have another question that I can toss your way if you want. 11 Camper is wondering what the total game time is.
So, the total game time, obviously, it depends on how quickly you play, how much you discover, and how well versed with
quickly you figure
puzzle
out.
games you are. How quickly you figure it out. But it's definitely a short game. What do you say, Jakob, is our average playtime?
I think it depends sort of somewhere between 2 and 4 hours of playtime of
I think that's a good
the whole
estimate.
thing.
Yeah.
So as we mentioned earlier, at some point we sort of figured out, okay, we really want to make this a complete experience, and so at that point our focus was to we wanted to make a really short and focused complete experience rather than try to draw out and especially like with the we figured out we sort of had to focus our efforts on different stuff, and one of our focus was the world and all the settings and all the little details and stuff.
Yeah,
and
making
obviously
it,
also
again, feel super handcrafted and everything belongs in its place and feels unique.
and so our focus very early on became that we wanted to make a really short and really tight experience, sort of to tie it all together. Also based around this really simple mechanic.
Right.
Yeah. It's also kind of the idea behind our development studio to make short but sweet games that are based on one core idea that's properly used in many different ways, but not overusing it and to stop it from getting bland after, like, I don't know, 20 hours of gameplay or something like that.
Sure.
Just do everything that you can with it. And, have a short, sweet experience.
Yeah.
All right. I believe that I must be heading out pretty soon. So maybe this is, I think
fine.
from a gameplay point, that's a good place to end it, because right now we have both pearls, so we can do almost everything that we will be in the entire game, and we've seen, like, mechanically wise, most of the stuff.
Yeah, and we want to leave some puzzles where everyone else can figure it out for themselves still, of course.
Exactly. Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you both so much for coming on and showing us this adorable game and walking through some of the development process behind it. Truly, it is so cute. And I can't thank you enough for coming on and walking us through some of the process and describing how some of the development journey went for y'all.
Well, thanks so much for having us.
You're
It
welcome.
was really fun.
Thanks.
You took
Yeah, of
away
course. Glad to have you.
the nervosity and everything like that pretty quickly. I had a nice
Oh,
time.
good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. It's all fun here. We're all just a bunch of devs wanting to learn more about Devon, So
Yeah,
happy to have you
totally.
on.
Yeah.
Um,
And
yeah.
as an end note from our side, the game is currently on sale, 20% reduced in the Steam Summer Sale. So if you want to check it out, there's no better time than right now.
Yes, please do. We will drop the link for the game in chat right now if you're interested in potentially going to pick it up. It is so cute. Give it a try. It's such a good time. But yeah, I want to make sure that
Thank you very much.
you can sneak out of here quickly. We don't take up too much more of your time. So real quickly, one last big thank you for coming on. Everyone who hung out with us and asked questions and watched the show, thank you also for being here. Your interaction and you being involved is part of what makes this experience so great. Is just this sense of community that we get to build all together. So thank you for taking the time to be here today. If you missed any part of the stream earlier, no worries. We post all of our streams in video format that can be viewed on demand on both our Twitch and YouTube channel at Unreal Engine. You can also keep up with us at Unreal Engine on all of our social media to keep up to date with news and updates and all that good stuff. And if you aren't already, I highly encourage you to come join us on our forums and on the Epic developer community, where you can get tutorials, information, meet other devs, as well as just pretty much anything you could ever possibly need, all under that one umbrella. So come hang out there and join us there if you haven't already. But with that, there will not be streams for the next 2 weeks. We're going to be taking a short break for summertime. So I'll see y'all when we're back from that. The next stream will be, just so I can toss an actual date out there for everyone. Next stream will be July 20th. So check back in around that time. Until then, I will miss you all, but I hope you have a good one till then. And with that, thank you all so much for coming, and we'll see y'all later. Bye, everyone.
Bye.